And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Go ahead and say it, Ed. Go Tigers!
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
You like that? You like that?
F it. Jamar's down there somewhere.
The New Orleans Saints select Marcus Davenport.
No!
Splash Brothers? Yeah.
It's playoff. Keep going, Brace.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Just thank you, and let us just do everything and serve in your name, Lord, as we enjoy and fellowship in this wonderful game that we love to talk about and watch, Lord. Just please let us learn from everything that we do, and then shine a light for you in our life every day, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, guys, we're going to jump right on in this episode. Josh Clay and I are going to give our start, sit, sleeper picks at each position. We're going to pick players outside the top 5 at QB, top 10 at running back, top 10 at wide receiver, and top 5 at tight end. Those are primarily all your stud players that should be matchup proof, that you're going to start no matter what. Those guys, you shouldn't be questioning regardless of matchup or what, unless there's some kind of an injury and they end up getting ruled out. Obviously, you don't want to play them then.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to throw in a couple top streaming options for defenses at the end. But right before we get started, of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Big Reed BBQ, Automotive Detailing Solutions, This Little Piggy Barbecue Food Truck, and Mimi's Children's Boutique. First, we're going to highlight our primary sponsor for this pod. That's going to be Big Reed BBQ, and quite ironic because I seen a couple posts on Facebook this past weekend about some ribs that were cooked with the Big Reed barbecue sauce for the Dirty Boot Sports Fantasy Draft. Is that correct, guys?
That is right. Yeah. Rayleigh and Kyle both accidentally made ribs. They one of them thought that the other was making it, and then it kind of got miscommunicated. And then they're like, "Oh, well, guess what? Mine's with Big Reed." And then Rayleigh goes, "Well, mine is too." So we had a rib off, and they were both very, very good. We didn't have a single rib left. We didn't have any food left after that night. But yeah, it was a great night, great ribs, and of course,
it worked out for all of us that they made ribs, both of them.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It did. But yeah, Big Reed Barbecue started as a family recipe in 1986. Our mild flavor is right on time, and our spicy is just enough heat. Owner Ken Reed and Director of Marketing Andre Leonard say you can get our sauce at Doug Damona Farm and Feed, Time to Shine Detail, the Salty Brahma, the Quitman Store, and Amazon. So shout out Big Reed as always. Get you some more barbecue. Get it ready for this weekend. We got more football. It's the perfect weekend of football. You get Saturday college. You get Friday Night Lights on Friday. If you want to go watch some high school football, then, Sunday is the first full slate of NFL, and it's a perfect slate. I love it. 8 games at 12, 5 games at, 3:25, and then you get a good Sunday night football game, and then Monday night football, Bills Jets. Man, it's gonna be great.
Yep,
can't wait.
It's gonna be a really good. I mean, we know NFL's just captains of marketing over there, lining up the best games for the opening weekend. A lot of really good matchups.
We get the 2 New York teams on 9/11.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
It's gonna be a really good weekend. Just to preview a little bit of our pods coming up for this season, what we're gonna try to do, we're gonna try to come at you with a waiver picks pod early in the week. I'm hoping to get it out on Monday or Tuesday for you guys, depending on when your waivers run. And then we're also going to do our start, sit, sleeper pod every week, just like this one that we got coming out. And that'll be our 2 main pods. And I'm going to try to mix in some injury news and just news in general with those as we go throughout the season. So hopefully we can be pretty faithful and consistent with that for you guys. But that's going to be our 2 main pods from here on out. Some of the main news coming out, unless you live under a rock or have been in the ocean for the last 6 to 8 hours without cell phone signal, you probably know that Travis Kelce hyperextended his knee in practice today. Status is in question for Thursday night, guys. You better find a backup just in case. Because I don't know about y'all, but anytime somebody, especially a primarily athletic player like Kelce, injures a lower extremity, specifically a knee, this close to game time, I really don't know if he's going to be able to give it a go. And if he does, I don't know if you want to start him because he could be a decoy. And that would really kill, which, I mean, I guess you could argue Kelsey at 50% is probably better than
any
all
other
the
tight
tight
end.
ends outside the top 10 at 100%.
Yeah.
But what about you guys? What do y'all think? Do you roll the dice? I mean, obviously you're waiting until right at game time.
Yeah.
But
I don't think he plays. I don't think he does.
I don't think he does either.
First off, they're the Chiefs. They don't like need to win every game, and they're probably going to win the game without him just because they have Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, I don't think they risk it. I'm glad to hear that the ACL and like every ligament is intact, and it's just pretty much they're waiting for the swelling to go down before they decide the like exact what they're going to do this week. And if you are a Chiefs fan or a Kelsey owner, while you do more than likely miss him this week, you're probably happy that it is a Thursday. So he misses that Thursday game, and he has 10 days to recover. I expect him to be a good to go for week 2, and then hopefully he's has no other issues the rest of the year. But yeah, because that's a first round pick, man.
The Chiefs are not worried about one game. They're looking long term. They're looking for the Super Bowl. So I really do not think he's playing.
Definitely not. And if he's not, go pick up one of these sleepers. Heck, one of the starts might be available for all we know that we talk about, but go pick up one of the sleepers that we talk about here in a minute. They got some good matchups.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, final on the docket, we haven't had a pod since this happened. Cooper Kupp re-aggravates his hamstring Thursday of last week. They flew to Minnesota with Coach Sean McVay to see a specialist. Honestly, I don't know what's going on, but if you go to see a specialist for any injury,
don't sound good.
Does not sound.
It's all good.
Guys,
he's day to day.
Get out of here, Coach Pete Carroll. But I'm a big Cooper Kupp fan. But whenever I heard he went to see a specialist, I passed on him.
Yep.
I passed on him in the second round last night in a draft, guys. And
I think Josh finally bid on it in like
draft.
the third or something.
But
I got him I couldn't pass him up in the third.
I had to pass on him in the second, and it about killed me. And I was like, man, I just can't. Like, if you're going to, what if he gets put on IR? There goes 4 games out the window. He might still be a top 5 pick minus 4 games. Who knows? But man, if it's something surgical and they're like 6 to 8 weeks or something crazy, that'll wreck your team quick. And I mean, y'all know I picked him first in one of my leagues that drafted a week and a half ago, and man, we'll see how it goes. Lucky for me in that league, I went super wide receiver heavy, so I've got guys to fill, not of Cooper Kupp standard, but I won't be too hurt until he comes back. But
I saw multiple teams circulating around social media of people that drafted like a week ago, and their draft went Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor, rounds 1, 2, and 3. So they're not feeling good right now.
Ooh,
that is tough.
Yeah, they're not feeling good.
But that's the major news. I mean, there could be a few other things. Joe Burrow's still day to day. Other than that, there's nothing really crazy.
Zach Moss, RB1 in Indy.
Oh, Lord, no. I drafted Kareem Hunt with my last pick last night. I bet money he ends up signing before Sunday. I don't know, maybe not. But you would think either that or they go out there and really stink it up and they offer him a little bit more money. Who knows?
Yeah. I seen where oh gosh, who was the guy that played for the Jaguars that hasn't got a team?
Leonard Fournette.
No.
Or James Robinson.
James Robinson was visiting there. Yep.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, they were talking about he looked slower than ever the last team he played. This another year down. Who knows?
Yep.
But let's go ahead and get into it, guys. We're going to get started with our starts, and we'll just go by position in each position with all our starts. And let's go ahead and get kicked off with your quarterback, Josh, at your start position.
Okay, and I will say we did not pick any of the top 5 players on ESPN. Yep. That just makes it too easy. Mm-hmm. But my quarterback is going to be Geno Smith. He finished really good last year. Got a big contract, and I think he goes out there the first week and tries to prove that it wasn't a fluke. last year, the first game against the Rams, he had one of his best games, 367 yards and 3 touchdowns. This year, they don't have Leonard Floyd, Bobby Wagner, or Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
And I feel like he's going to feast, and I feel like DK has a big game with him.
Yep.
I think he's a good play this week. If you don't have one of the top 6 to 8 quarterbacks.
Definitely. Yeah, I like that pick a lot. He's got the weapons. They showed last year they're not afraid to let him throw the ball, and then not to mention their run game. They got 2 solid young running backs that he can dump it off to. Athletic tight end. I mean, there's no reason he can't. I mean, that's why he did it last year. There's no reason he can't sucsucceed.
Yeah, and Smith and Jigba, I'm guessing, is playing, right?
Yeah, Lord, no, he had
thought he was out for about 3
yesterday,
weeks.
for Pete's sake, So I love that pick. What about you, Clay? Who do you got at start?
I went Tua. I feel like Tua, you got to capitalize on him before he gets hurt inevitably.
Yep.
But Mike McDaniel has been talking about how prepared that his team is, and given Mike McDaniel, who's just an offensive genius, so much time to prepare for this game in a dome, so you get good weather. You don't have to worry about that. It's in Los Angeles. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Do I need to say more there? You don't have Wilson or A-Chain at 100% at running back, it seems, so probably a little bit more passing game. And I think that the Chargers defense, it obviously has the talent. It just never plays up to it. But I think Tua is a good play, and I don't think he needs to be. I think the only reason he's as low as he is when he gets drafted in fantasy is because of the injury concern, which is a very good reason. But I think he's going to be easily a top 12 quarterback, which I think he's getting drafted at like 13 or 14. I think he's easily top 12, probably top 8 if he plays the whole year. And I think that gets started this week.
Well, I think this game between the Chargers and the Dolphins is the game you want to have some players. And I think this is a shootout, high scoring. I think all these players have really big games.
The only concern I have is the Chargers defense. Everybody forgets the injury problems they had last year before the season started. This year they're coming in healthy. Derwin James, Asante, isn't it Asante Samuel they have, I think? Or who's that guy? There's a young Asante Samuel Jr. out on the corner. They got Joey Bosa.
Jackson.
They are loaded on the defensive side. And I would feel a lot better if I knew 100% sure Jalen Waddle was going to play.
He's playing.
Man, I like to hope so, but I don't think he's practiced in pads yet.
He'll be all right. You don't need to. He probably don't even wear pads.
But yes, I love Miami's defense, and I like Tua a lot this year. But we'll see if the Chargers defense is back or not. But I'm like Josh, man. I want players in this game because that for one, the Chargers are going to score against Miami's defense. They don't have Jalen Ramsey. They've had a couple injuries on their defensive line already. Because Jalen Ramsey, they put him on the IR. I didn't know. I don't know.
He's probably
talked about that.
Yeah, he's probably out till about December.
Yeah, so I'm looking for the Chargers to be throwing the ball around the yard, and then Miami's they got the offensive capability to try to keep up. So I think that's a good pick because he's going to definitely be throwing the ball a fair amount.
Yeah.
Mine, we're going to roll right into Captain Kirk Cousins. All right, against Tampa Bay at home. Arguably the best fantasy football player. He's throwing to him. Best wide receiver, arguably the best wide receiver in the league. And then one of the worst expected defensive teams right now. They lost a fair amount. The secondaries.
It kind of concerns me why they're so low, though. I mean, that you still got Levante David, you got Devin White, you got Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis.
It's all right. Yeah, but they were not that successful defensively last year, really. No.
No.
And
Every game was close.
Their offense got worse. So now I do think their offense plays great against Minnesota's bottom of the barrel defense, but I think this could be another one of those games that you might want a lot of players in.
Yeah.
Specifically, on both sides, I think Rashad White and Chris Godwin have big games. I think, we're going to get to see Kirk Cousins, talk about quarterbacks with a whole bunch of weapons. Madison, Hawkinson, Addison, KJ Osborne, Justin Jefferson. The dude's got standout talent all around him. So I love him in this game. I just, and their defense is terrible. So Tampa Bay is going to be able to kind of keep up. And I think that's going to keep Kirk Cousins in that offense with their foot on the gas. And I think they put up a lot of points, and I think Kirk Cousins benefits a ton this year, just like he has every year. He's finished as a top 10 quarterback the last how many years, Josh? I know you've been a big proponent of him for years.
Oh, yeah. Most underrated player in football, probably.
Yeah. And
anyway, a great guy. Man,
yeah.
I know y'all seen that quarterback show.
Yeah. Which I knew about that. I've read about it before that, but I'm glad they finally put it on TV for other people to know.
Yep.
So, but yep, I like Kirk Cousins a lot this week. Let's move on to our running backs, guys. Who do you got at running back, Josh? Starts for you.
All right. So I wasn't real huge on this guy coming in this season, but when I looked at the matchup and all, I really liked him even more. I'm going J.K. Dobbins. I really didn't think that was going to come out of my mouth, but I feel like this is a real good spot for him. So, everything is the talk that they're going to throw the ball more, and I believe they will, but they're not going to abandon the run. They're still going to run the ball a lot. He's the number one running back on a traditionally run-first team. He's fully healthy for the first time in probably 2 years. His second year off the ACL is usually when you really see an improvement in guys. Houston, the last couple of years, has been one of the worst teams against running backs. They have given up. Last year, they gave up huge numbers against running backs. And I expect them to try to get him involved early, get him going, because they're going to need him for the year. I really am surprised I'm going with this pick, but with everything I see in the matchup, I think he has a pretty big day.
I like it. He's one of the best per average rushers in the NFL. He might even lead the league. I don't know if he qualifies as far as depending on what your qualification is per rush, but I know last time I looked, it was around 5.5 yards a carry. 5.5 yards. That's man, if he doesn't make the qualification, he's right there with Derrick Henry on that. That's a one thing Derrick Henry's led with for a long time is your yards per rush, and you see it
Nick
when
Chubb's
he's on the field.
Always up there too.
He's constantly falling forward, getting those extra couple yards the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, that playing against a Houston defense equals a pretty good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I love that pick, and if they get up, they're just going to pound the rock. Going to give him more opportunity, and they've said they want to pass the ball more to him. We haven't seen it a lot. He did a little bit last year, and then he got hurt again. But they say that that he's made peace with the front office. He's happy with the situation he's in, and I guess he knows he's going to get paid, to an extent. So, if he's made his peace with it, and Lamar's back, all of that helps the running back tremendously. So I like that pick a lot.
Yeah, and the thing that it's always hard to trust a Ravens running back, but he's by far got the most talent there is there.
Without a doubt.
Gus Edwards is nothing but a power back. Justice Hill is nothing but a backup. Dobbins can be the kind of guy that takes 70-80% of the carries.
Yep.
It's just, can he stay on the field? But yeah, I like that pick, and I'm very excited just to watch that game, not only for the Ravens offense, just to see how it works this year or how it looks like it's going to work, but also to see what D'Amico Ryans can do with Houston's defense. Houston's defense has pieces, and we know he's obviously a great defensive coach, and he's going to get the most out of his players there. I'm just anxious to see if we notice a difference in Houston this year compared to what we've seen the past 3 or 4 years, where they're just constantly one of the worst teams and just gets picked on essentially.
That's right. I agree. What about you, Clay? Who you got at running back?
My start is Jahmyr Gibbs, someone that I wasn't really all in on before the last week or so. I was kind of more feeling the David Montgomery pick a little bit later, especially given the values of each. But I think that Gibbs is really going to have a good role. And I've seen a lot of talk from the OC, Ben Johnson, talking about how they're going to use Gibbs in ways that the public hasn't even thought of yet. And that right there just excites me for someone that's as talented and just versatile as Gibbs is. And maybe he don't get 10 carries. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't, but he might have 10 catches. And he might have one play that goes for 50 yards. I'm just really excited to see how he works in. And obviously, if he does get a little bit more running work, Kansas City's almost certainly going to be without Chris Jones, and he makes that front seven go. And if he's out, then I think Gibbs going to have a little bit more running room. And I wouldn't be opposed to starting David Montgomery either if you have him. So pretty much the Lions running back room, but I do like Gibbs a lot this week.
Yeah.
Well, I think going against KC, you got to use your pass catching running back to stay in the game with them. You're gonna have to move the ball down the field, and I think he's the best option for the big play. So I think they use both of them, but I think Gibbs probably might even play more in this game because if they get down, they're gonna have to pass the ball. I really like him in this game.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I like both of them because with Chris Jones being out in the middle of that defense, that is a huge part, huge missing part of that Kansas City defensive line. Whether they use him and Montgomery running up the middle, I mean, whenever Chris Jones in there to stop up that, I mean, that's why. I mean, why do you think Travis Kelce's going to social media for Pete's sake? Please come back, you know.
Yeah.
And
with Jones and Kelce both out, I mean, Detroit might have a shot in this game.
I think Detroit
that line
really
does.
Dropped.
It's dropped.
I really
think
they
points.
do, man. But we'll see. But I like that pick. I think it's a shootout, regardless, or at least it tries to be. You know, I think we see Mahomes just spread the ball or try to get the ball to everybody. And I mean, they're so offensively, you know, just like the way they scheme is just. It's always seems to be just right for whoever they're playing. And we've seen Detroit really be able to take advantage, even good defenses in the past last year. Mm-hmm. So, and this is far from a good defense. You've got
the offense of the NFL with the Chiefs, and then you've got the Lions offense with Ben Johnson, who is almost certainly going to be the number one target for every team that has an opening at head coach after this year.
I don't know about you guys, but I know a team that could really use an offensive-minded head coach.
I know one too.
Champs literally has a fantasy team name about bring Ben Johnson to NOLA. So
man,
he's
that'd
ready
be
for that.
Great. But anyway, so
guess what, guys? In 2 days, we'll be sitting here watching that game.
Yeah,
can't wait, man. Can't wait.
It's gonna be awesome. Mine, guy that we've talked about several times. I gotta go Miles Sanders at Atlanta. Give me the veteran running back with a rookie quarterback with an improving offensive line with an offensive-minded head coach against a bottom 10 defense any day. I just think Carolina leans on Sanders at least early, just to ease Bryce Young back into his matchups. If they don't, just get him some small screen passes, dump off passes just to get Young comfortable, especially with DJ Chark still being banged up. They're kind of light at the wide receiver. Terrence Marshall's still out. I think they lean on the run more than they ever do. I think they have good success against Atlanta, who's honestly been letting some key pieces of their defensive front go out of that front seven. There was a key, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. I went blank and I was going to look it up, but that key linebacker that was from LSU, they had
Deion Jones, who's in Carolina now.
Let him go. And then there was a defensive lineman they let go that was like a 3-year, and he was an all-pro maybe last year before. They let him go. I really don't know what they're doing there.
I forget. I know they still have Grady Jarrett down there, but and they brought in Calais Campbell. But I'm trying to think who they lost. I know Deion Jones, obviously.
Yeah, there was another defense. He was a young lineman, and it was not a common name. And I think he was 3 years out from being drafted. And
I think they just stole who they steal from the Saints too? Onyemata, maybe. I think Onyemata's there from New Orleans now.
But either way, I still like Miles Sanders for them to lean on. I think he's been super underrated going to that offense with Frank Wright as the head coach.
I agree.
I like him a lot going against Atlanta, and I think they got a good chance to go up against Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta's offense is particularly successful against Carolina's defense, who was coming on last year. And then they added some key parts like Deion Jones, like you just said, who probably knows that offense fairly well from last year. So I like them a lot, and we'll see how it pans out. But I think Miles Sanders has a great game, and I think he's definitely somebody you slide in your RB2 this week for sure.
Well, it's kind of what we always preach, volume, and I think he's going to have the volume. Hey, what's the over and under for how many handoffs between these two teams during this game? They are going to be some running backs used in this game on both sides.
Bijan is officially number 1 running back. Finally got listed in the depth.
Would you have guessed that? I can't believe it.
And Cordarrelle's listed as a J. He's a joker.
Yeah.
Well, he's questionable. He's banged up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's questionable, so that means he's going to go on IR soon, so they can add somebody else to the team. But yeah, no. I think Miles Sanders gets a lot of run. I think he's successful. It's at Atlanta, so it's inside. But I think his pass catching ability is being really undersold, because he really was excellent at pass catching in college, and they didn't throw the ball a ton to their running backs in Philadelphia. And I think they will more. I think Bryce Young will more here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I feel like
his first year. I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. Go.
Hey, his rookie year that he had, we had a pretty good year. Didn't he catch a lot more balls his rookie year? It seems like
probably. He did
was
start
that
off
before Jalen Hurts though.
Yeah, before Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
Probably, and might have been before the OC that just left was there too. I just want to see what Miles Sanders is like being what seems to be bell cow running back, because we've never seen him with that. We obviously in Philadelphia it's about like Baltimore. They don't have one running back; they have 4. But in Carolina, he's looks like he's in line for at least 90% of the snaps, and I hope.
Well, they say follow the money, and they gave him the big contract.
I feel like if they're going to give him that opportunity, you can't really pass on that to take that chance. Like at least like we said, volume is king. So
from a fantasy perspective, it has all the makings of someone that is going to be a steal, obviously, given his draft position.
Yeah.
I just hope his body is going to be up for it.
Well, and that's very true. But, hey, if you look at it over the last several years, they haven't exactly used him as a workhorse. Yeah. So, even though he's been in the league as long as he hasn't exactly been just
he's got mileage left on his legs for sure.
Yeah.
But he's also – some of the times he didn't get those carries because he was out because he was hurt.
Yeah, that's true. So
he may have been the biggest value in fantasy last year where he went.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, because he was going seventh or so.
I think he went 8th or 9th in one league that I picked him up in.
I know a buddy of mine was playing him like he was on his bench for some of the season. Then he started doing well, and he started playing him at his flex.
Yeah,
if he was your flex last year, he was doing good.
Might be the same way of J.K. Dobbins this year.
It very well might be. So, but let's move on to wide receivers, guys. And Josh, who do you got as your start at wide receiver?
All right. Well, I'm going with the Chargers wide receivers, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I like both of them. We just talked about this game. I think it's going to be really high scoring, and they're going to have to pass to keep up with the Dolphins.
Love it.
You got Kellen Moore going to show off his new high-powered offensive scheme against a really fast-paced Dolphins offense. This is going to be a shootout up and down. And both are coming into the game healthy, which I don't know if they've ever been healthy at the same time.
Dude, I was thinking about that the other day. I can't remember the last time they were both healthy coming into the preseason ended. What about Clay? You got anything to add to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams? Or you pretty much incomplete?
I love both of them. I've got Keenan. I know I've got Keenan in at least one league, and then one league I've got Herbert and Mike Williams is like my fifth receiver or something. Yeah. So I might give both of them a shot. But yeah, I mean, I like both of them a lot. They'll be going up against. I mean, I know Ramsey's out. I believe Eli Apple's probably starting.
Oh boy, I love that matchup. Burnt toast.
And then I'm trying to think of the other cornerback for them. Maybe Nick Needham. I don't know. I can't. Xavier Howard. Yeah.
Yeah. How old is he now? 32, 33? No.
He's probably about 28, 29, somewhere around there. Getting close.
I felt
to 30,
like he was older than that, but anyway. Yeah, we'll see. But I like the Chargers offense. Well, maybe they fall flat on their face, maybe they don't. But I'm looking forward to seeing that offense work, and especially with them all healthy and getting to see Herbert utilize them all.
Well, even Herbert healthy, because he wasn't healthy half the year last year.
That's right.
This is going to be a totally different team, I think.
Yeah. So, what about you, Clay? Who you got to start wide receiver?
I went Devontae Smith. It's a tough one. There's a lot of receivers that I was kind of in on, and this one kind of pairs with my tight end sit that we'll talk later. So the Patriots, you give Bill Belichick 9 months to prepare for you. He's probably going to prepare pretty well. With the Eagles offense, I don't think that A.J. Brown's going to have a big game, honestly. He's going to be going up against their number one corner while Devontae's going to be on the other side going up against Christian Gonzalez, the rookie corner out of Oregon. So I think Devontae's going to have a big year, and I think he gets that started week one, and they're going to try to lean on that matchup a little bit more. I think Jonathan Jones will be the starting corner on the other side with A.J. Brown, pretty good corner, who I think just got paid as well. And then I don't really know anything about that running game and how it's going to work this year. So give me Devontae against a rookie in New England. I mean, I like the matchup a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize, didn't he end the year at like around 10 or something? I mean,
I think I looked it up on draft day, and it was he was number 9 at the end of last year.
Yeah, and that's kind of a quiet 9. You don't realize until the end of the year.
Yeah, no, excellent. And I believe, don't get me lying here, I'm going to verify this real quick. But I believe he outperformed, nope, just barely. A.J. Brown beat him out just barely. But, yeah.
A.J. was probably like 6. They were both incredible. Which is,
A.J. Brown was 7th.
Okay. It's so weird they were both great, while Hurts, he probably threw for 3,000 yards, 3,500 yards, not a lot. That offense was just so good.
Yeah, but definitely.
All right, what you got, Derek?
7th and 9th. Sorry, I was just counting that again, and I was like, I missed him the first time. But 7th and 9th. That's just crazy, man, on the same team. But for me, I got Chris Godwin, Tampa Bay at Minnesota. Yeah. I know. It's Baker Mayfield-led offense.
Heck yeah, it is.
Not a big Baker Mayfield fan, but I am a fan of scoring fantasy points. And whenever your defense is pretty much as terrible as Minnesota's, I like the chances. Byron Murphy's he's the best corner they got there. I think he's on Mike Evans, not Chris Godwin, just because I think Godwin's probably going to be playing out of the slot some more again. We know Baker Mayfield likes to target his players over the middle of the field, and that's where Godwin makes his hay, is over the middle of the field. And he's going against a subpar secondary in Tampa Bay. They're going to have to pass the ball to try to keep up with Minnesota's offense, who's going to be scoring at will against Tampa Bay's defense. I just think Godwin's the wide receiver 1 in Tampa Bay now. No questions asked. And
I think he's the number 1 wide receiver, but I don't think he's going to get the number 1 wide receiver matchup every week.
Yeah,
I think Mike's going to draw the number 1 corner.
But I think he's going to get the wide receiver 1 volume for sure.
Exactly.
And I think after this game, everybody's going to find out that he's Baker's go-to in Tampa Bay. So that's what I like this week.
Probably the most aggravated I've ever been in a draft is we was drafting, and my phone, I lost service, and it auto-drafted Mike Evans. I was sick to my stomach.
Trade him. Trade him for somebody. Somebody out there likes him. I guarantee you, somebody will take him out.
I don't know.
Well,
Every draft I did,
he
fell like 30 picks below his ADP. It was crazy.
Well, that's how we ended up with him because he hung on at the top forever.
He was at the top. Yep.
And my phone went out right as I was supposed to pick because a guy in front of me picked twice at the turn, and before I could get my phone back, it had automatically auto drafted him, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
And I'll be honest, I guess it's a habit of mine for years. I'll get on about 5 to 10 minutes for the draft, and I go through and start clicking my queue, and I go down to like probably at least through 150, pick 150, and I pick all the guys that I like. I mean, I know I ain't gonna get them all, but I go through and I click every one of them that I like all the way down. If I don't like somebody, I don't click them. And then whenever it comes around to something like that happened to me last night, man, I was sitting here and my internet started going squirrely and like it was still counting down, but it had timed out, but nobody auto picked. And I was like, what to do? So I kept hitting refresh. It wouldn't do nothing. And sure enough, my time ended and it auto picked and put me on auto draft, but it ended up picking my next guy that I did like that was available. And yeah, man, I've not had that happen to me in several years, but it happened to me last night as well. And I had that guy in the queue. And that's why I always do it. And honestly, it hardly ever benefits me. But last night it did. I just roll through literally. I mean, I like this guy. I mean, it might be 3 or 4 guys in a row. I won't get any of them. But, you know, if they're there and it's my pick and I end up on auto draft somehow, I'll at least get one of them, you know.
Well, I know what happened. So Clay picked after me, and he probably knew I was going to pick the guy he wanted. So I was sabotaged. There's no doubt in my mind. Clay found a way to screw that up.
Yeah. Well, me and Josh did have, like, we drafted near each other twice this weekend. And both times.
That's rough right there.
Yeah. Both times we were like, we would have picked if our positions swapped, our drafts would have been the same, but for each other's teams. Like I think I went Bijan and Amon-Ra.
Oh,
and Josh went Pollard and Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, those are the guys I wanted.
Love it. So
we was calling each other picks all night long.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you've been talking about fantasy on this pod for as long as we have, I mean, we're freaking 10 episodes in already. We hadn't even started the season.
Yeah, games don't even start.
And we did 2 mock drafts. I mean, if y'all, dude, I'm just glad I didn't have to draft with y'all for peace sake. It was tough enough sledding as it was. My last draft, I think they were taking backup quarterbacks in round 9 and 10. I hadn't even taken a quarterback yet. Anyway, but let's move on to tight ends. Who you got, Josh?
Rough subject here.
Yeah, man, tell me about it.
Did you pick your wide receiver?
Yeah,
me?
Godwin. Yeah, he went
Chris
Godwin.
Yeah, Godwin. That's right, Godwin. Okay. Well, I got Tyler Higbee. Let me see. I really like him, especially now that
Cooper Kupp.
They're talking about Cooper Kupp uncertain for the game. I believe Stafford is going to use Higbee for a safety blanket. You know, we already seen that connection some last year. You know, and plus the Rams are probably going to find themselves down early, so they're going to have to throw the ball. I just really I think he's going to get a lot of targets. If Kupp's out, he's going to probably get double-digit targets. And I think he has a big day. I mean, I'm almost willing to say he's going to be a top 3 tight end this week.
Yep, love it. I completely agree. Honestly, we talked before, and he would have been mine without a doubt. Like looking at every tight end past George Kittle, he stood out immediately with the same reasons you just said. Cooper Kupp being out, he's got that great rapport with with Stafford. Their defense is terrible. Seattle's going to run the score up. They're going to have to throw the ball. I mean, and who they're going to throw it to? It's going to be Higbee, maybe Van Jefferson. Nobody else has a really, really good chemistry. Maybe Ben Skoranek.
Yeah. Skoranek did most of his work when Stafford was hurt
stunt
last year.
Man. Maybe that's what happened, guys.
Yeah.
Ben Skoranek got hurt in practice, and they played it off like it was Cooper Kupp. And then Cooper Kupp's going to come running out there beginning of the game. He's fine.
That's
it was actually Ben Skoranek the whole time who got hurt. So maybe that's what happens. Who knows?
Well, did y'all see Stafford was talking about? I don't even know these guys' names or who they are. These guys.
Oh, yeah, the what is it? Acura. There was one. A buddy of mine told me he picked him up. I'm about to pull his name up right now because I know he ain't owned. Puka Nakua.
The guy from Fresno State, Utah, somewhere right like that. Yeah.
BYU.
That's it.
Product.
BYU.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a white guy.
Well,
he's
I'm
like
pretty sure
Samoan
he's
or
South
something.
American
Yeah,
or
he's
something. There's no way with that name. But man, I mean, that's the guy that's kind of come out of nowhere,
Yeah.
I mean, look at Cooper Kupp. Kind of who knew who he was until he jumped on the scene.
Yeah.
But my buddy, he was like, yeah, I dropped. I don't remember. He dropped somebody that I would have hung on to for that guy, and I was like, man, if that dude hits, let me tell you right now, you better go buy a lottery ticket. But anyway, yeah. So I love Higbee's pick. I don't think you can go wrong with that. What about you, Clay?
I went Dalton Schultz.
Yep.
It kind of goes with what the defense that I've picked up or I drafted twice this weekend and starting this week with the Ravens.
Yeah.
So you got rookie quarterback in Baltimore with CJ Stroud. Going to be a tough environment. It's hard to play in Baltimore. You don't really have a wide receiver that you feel confident about at all, really. We've talked about it plenty of times. You got Robert Woods, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, maybe. I mean, there's just a bunch of guys that aren't really anything. They're probably going to try to run the ball a lot, but if they do pass it, I could see Dalton Schultz kind of being the safety blanket where, Stroud gets some pressure and just wants to check it down real quick, and Schultz is open.
Yep.
I don't love the pick, but I wouldn't be shocked if Schultz gets, 8 to 10 targets and maybe sneaks in the end zone for a touchdown. It'd be interesting to see.
Well, we've seen in the past he is definitely I guess you could say a goal line, a red zone presence. Because when he was in Houston, in Dallas, he seemed to always find that hole, and Dak Prescott seemed to always find him. And we've all, one of the old adages is a tight end is a rookie quarterback's best friend.
Absolutely.
So, I could definitely see where that works out, especially against Baltimore, where they're probably going to be struggling to move the ball.
Yeah.
They're going to be looking for anything they can, and he's definitely athletic enough to get open, I think, against Baltimore's
last year
defense.
he was a solidified top 7 tight end, 6.
Yep.
Like he was up there and was pretty much a must start every week. And it is kind of weird seeing him go to a place where he's probably going to get more targets, you would say. I mean, you don't have CeeDee Lamb, you don't have Michael Gallup, Tony Pollard.
I think he's more of a volume play this year than a tight end, like a touchdown presence. Which is hard to gauge with him because we haven't seen him be that in the past. At Dallas, it's always like 4 or 5 catches for a touchdown or 2.
But honestly, he's got the potential here to be Mark Andrews.
And I think that's why he's fallen so late, and so many people are kind of off of him because they don't know. But he can be that 8 to 10 catch, 70 to 80 yard guy. He might not have that touchdown, but I mean, you can't go wrong with that. That type of volume every week for sure. So I like that pick a lot. Anything to add there, Josh?
No, yeah, pretty much said it all.
Mine. Dallas Goedert. I know Clay's not the biggest fan of this pick because he likes Devontae.
Yeah, they're all just I don't know.
Honestly, I was struggling after Higbee. Struggling to find. I got more sleepers that I would start some of these guys. I could have picked 2 sleepers instead of a start, but I do think Dallas Goedert.
And I don't like Goddard this week, but I'm starting him in a league. So
there you go. The must start, and that's where when you draft a tight end at that position and you go that high, you're like, I got to start him,
Exactly.
So, but I do think there's a world. Last year, New England struggled against tight end. Now, there's 2 ways you can look at it. You can look at it where Bill Belichick picks that out and says, we're going to fix this year, and that would be terrible for this pick. And then there's another way where they don't really address it, and they kind of force teams into that. Like, say, you got to beat us with your tight end, because tight end is arguably one of the weakest positions in the NFL. As we know, as far as fantasy goes, because that's one of the least successful. So why, as a defensive coordinator or a defensive coach, would you not think the weakest position, that's the position I want to beat me every week, because I got a better chance of my guys, sustaining against them, where if I focus on stopping the run and the wide receivers, then their worst player on offense has to beat me. But anyway, there's like 1,000 different ways you can cut that apple. And I like Dallas Goedert, though. It's good. I really think New England's going to struggle a lot this year regardless. I don't think they're going to be that powerhouse they have been. Yeah, I mean, I like Goddard this week. I think he picks right up. I'm not saying he's going to be number one tight end or whatever, but I think he's going to be top 10 without a doubt, probably top 6. I very easily see a 5 for 50 with a touchdown.
Yeah, that feels pretty good for Goddard, Ingram, all those kind of guys.
You would even take
range.
like 5 for 70, no touchdown.
I'll take 4 for 40.
Yeah,
that's it. Period. Like, just give me 8 points.
But yeah, that tells you how we feel about tight end. So, but
I did not look out this year with any of the top guys. I think Goddard's my highest tight end.
Yeah, I got Waller in one league.
And I've got Goddard, Komet, and Kincaid, I believe, are my 3.
I got Goddard, Higbee, and then I've got another league where I got it's a dynasty league, but I got like Freiermuth, Njoku, Juwan Johnson, and maybe I think I got Laporta, either Laporta or Jake Ferguson. That's another one. But I don't have him as my sleeper, but we'll talk about him here in a little bit because I'm going to throw him in there.
With the way it's going for Kelsey and Kittle with injuries, it might be the year not to have a top tight end.
That's true. What about you, Jay? Anything to add with Dallas Goedert? I know Clay's going to talk about him here in a little bit.
Like we were saying, it's kind of a dart throw when you get past the top 3 or 4. You just hope for a big game. Like you said, if he gets 4 or 5 catches, you got to be kind of happy.
Well, and my thing is, he's got a history of being successful with Jalen Hurts. So you got a good quarterback, good chemistry. Honestly, once you get past those guys, that's the best odds you can ask for right there.
But I'm kind of like you. I like some of the guys a lot later, like Higbee and around that area a lot more.
I think it's because they're unknown still. Like, it feels like that they've got a level that we haven't seen them reach yet. While guys like Goddard, Evan Ingram, trying to think who else went around that range. Like, we know what they're going to be. They're not going to be top 3, but they're not going to be under 10 probably. Like, they're going to be
What gets
solid.
me about a lot of those guys is they're not even the top 3 or 4 options on their team.
Yeah.
Like Goddard, I mean, he's maybe 3, depending on where you put Swift. Swift could be 3 if he's used in that role.
Well,
same thing with.
And they're going to run the ball a lot. When they throw the ball, it's more likely run the ball a lot to Brown and Smith.
And same thing with I had it on the tip of my tongue just a minute ago. Evan Ingram, like Evan Ingram. I mean, he might not even be the 4th option on his team. Depending on where you put Zay Jones and where ETN. And Zay Jones, who was very successful last year.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Ingram could be the 5th option. At best.
Well, one thing about Goddard, though, if you're throwing the ball a good pass, he's probably going to catch it.
And
he's
you
pretty sure.
Remember, he was successful with Zach Ertz. He was successful as a tight end too.
Yeah.
On his team. So I like his odds to at least to be serviceable and not give you a 0 or even like a 2 for 10.
Exactly.
So
and that's all I want from the tight end, honestly. Once I don't get those top dogs.
What hurts him kind of, though, is you got a hybrid in A.J. Brown, who's your wide receiver / tight end.
Yeah.
He gets used down in the red zone like a tight end. So, that kind of hurts Goddard in a way.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and move on to our sits, guys. Let's go ahead and get started with our quarterback sit. Josh,
we can probably talk through these a little bit quicker.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson, and this is purely a wait and see thing. We hadn't seen.
We all got those.
We hadn't seen him be reliable or consistent since he returned last year. Reports out of camp is that he's not looked real good. I mean, there's a chance he could go off, but I don't want to start him until I see what he's going to do. Yep. And also the Bengals are not bad defense against quarterbacks. They were pretty good last year against the quarterback. So yep. I just, it's not that I don't like him. I just want to see what he's going to do and how he's going to play.
Yeah,
completely agree with that.
Overall, I'm pretty high on the Browns offense this year, and I think they're going to be good, especially Watson. I'm actually starting Watson, but I do want to just see how the Browns how their offense looks this year. I think that they've went and made changes. They did lose Kareem Hunt, so maybe that takes away from running the ball too much, because whenever Chubb needed a breather, they just put in another top 15 running back. But I do think they passed the ball a little bit more this year, and I think Watson's going to have a good year. But I do want to give it a week until I see just how the Browns offense is going to run.
Yeah, and I did see one of the beat writers reported yesterday, actually right before my draft yesterday, which swayed me to pick Nick Chubb with my first pick of the ninth pick. That they are expecting, and the word from the offensive coordinator is they are planning to use Nick Chubb on third down more this year than he has been ever.
Yeah.
So if he gets some of those catches like we have not seen him get in the past, man, I hope that happens. We'll see, but anyway, so I get the wait and see approach. I'm right there with both of y'all. I like him. I think this offense is going to be pretty solid, but I want to see him come out and be successful before I roll him out. And chances are, if you drafted him, you probably have a serviceable backup as well that you probably could have picked up or drafted as well. If not, I mean, maybe one of our sleepers might be laying around out there. You can drop a backup running back you got and throw in there for a good matchup. So, I mean, and that's just me. If I took him, I would be taking a backup just in case, it doesn't really pan out. So, but what about you, Clay? Who you got as your sit at quarterback?
Well, I'm looking at my lineup right now because I'm playing Josh and I've got Deshaun, so might be starting Baker against them. We'll see.
Baker, oh Lord,
I don't know. We'll see. But my sit is Daniel Jones. We obviously know the Giants don't like wide receivers. Their wide receiver is Darren Waller. I think Darren Waller is going to have a great year this year, but Cowboys defense is going to be, I think, really good this year. You brought in Stephon Gilmore to kind of take some help for Diggs and let Diggs be more of the true cornerback 2 kind of ball hawk that he needs to be, while Gilmore can go and lock down your number one receiver, which who's that number one receiver for the Giants? Who knows? Isaiah Hodgins, maybe, Jalen Hyatt. Darius
Slayton.
Like there's so many guys. I don't know. I think the Giants are just going to kind of struggle. It's going to be a tough game. That always is between those two teams. Yeah. Where's that one at? Is it in Dallas or is it in New York?
Give me one.
I think it's in New York. I might be wrong. New York's going to make it as ugly as the game.
It's in New York. It's in New York.
Okay. So I don't know. And it's Daniel Jones. I don't really fully believe in him, even though he got the contract. Brian Daboll, though, does kind of help with that, but it's going to be a tough year for the Giants offense. I really do think. And we'll see. It's another wait and see approach. Maybe Jones has another good year like last year. Maybe he is who he really is, which is who I don't think we saw last year.
But, I think at that offense, the only two players you can really start are going to be Waller and Barkley. I think Waller will get enough volume to, carry him because he is the only main pass-catching option there. And then Barkley's going to get plenty of volume and run. Now, the only thing about Jones is whenever they're not successful, he will just start running the ball.
That is true.
Like a
that's
crazy
when he's at his
person.
best.
And that's when Michael Parsons chases him down.
I do agree. That's what I was about to say. That's the thing about Dallas's defense is they are super fast.
Yeah.
So it's not going to work out too well for him there, but I think it could help him, throughout the season.
Yeah, I think that game is going to
pick.
be probably 24, 21.
I don't even know if it gets that high,
something
man.
like that.
Mike McCarthy said he wants to slow the game down as much as possible.
Yeah. And that's how those games are, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's all about Jones, though. He's a lot faster than he looks.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, he is.
He can fly if he can stay on his feet.
Yeah. Yeah, extremely. So, but I like that sit pick a lot there. So we'll go ahead and keep on rolling on to mine. That will be Anthony Richardson for the Colts against Jacksonville. Honestly, I was shocked to see he was really ranked as high as he was.
Yeah, 15 or 16, somewhere around there.
Let me see.
Which I thought was way too high.
Yeah. I don't think anyone that drafted him is. If you did draft him and you're having to start him this week, then you're in trouble.
I'm trying to figure out how he's ranked ahead of Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly.
It's
the running upside. That's all it is.
I guess the running thing, but
it's what it is.
I don't really expect him to be that much of a runner, I don't think he's going to be a Justin Fields, Lamar type runner.
He's going to be running for his life, not
maybe
down
so.
the field.
Maybe so.
But also, it's the unknown. It's a rookie quarterback with a depleted running back room. I mean, you got Zach Moss with a cast on his forearm starting for you because you got nobody else. Deion Jackson is there, but they're like trying to rush Moss back to play. I'm like, Deion Jackson did fine, but maybe he looks a lot worse than we thought.
Yeah.
A declining offensive line. We have, an unproven, unseen ability to throw the ball at the NFL level because he's a rookie. We've seen him in the preseason a little bit, but
not accurate.
That's not the real season, though. We all know the preseason is far from those veterans. Some of them get out there, they don't run 100%. They ain't playing hard because, especially the ones that know they got it sewed up. They're just getting out there, getting in the game flow again. But they're
not to get hurt.
That's exactly right. They're not giving it their all, but they will be week one. And anyway, I want to see how he does against an NFL level defense. This ain't going to be college. This ain't going to be Florida again. Everybody's fast in an NFL.
I think this could be the worst offense in the league the first week. Really, it's going to be bad.
It's going to be
them
a
Arizona
close race
won.
between them and Arizona.
But you don't want any part of that kind of offense.
And he might be extremely talented, but he's got to prove me wrong before I believe it.
Yeah, I'm kind of high on Richardson, not this week, but more so for his career. I think he's going to be good. And, obviously Michael Pittman, good receiver. Alec Pierce shown a little bit. Josh Downs has promise, but I don't know. I don't know about this week. It's another wait and see approach. That's what week one's going to be for pretty much everybody. We'll see.
Well, Jacksonville's defense also at the end of the year last year really came on strong. They looked really good. Not to mention we know what their offense is and capable of. And I think they're going to be able to move the ball very easily, hang on to the ball. I think it's going to limit Indianapolis's I think it's going to limit their offensive opportunities. It's also going to put pressure on Richardson. And if he tries to force the ball too much, I think we're going to see turnovers, So that's I just don't like it. I'm not saying I'm not picking him as a bust for his career by any means, but this week for sure I am not starting Anthony Richardson until I see him make some magic,
Definitely.
Anything y'all want to add? Y'all want to roll on into running backs?
I agree with that totally. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you got a running back there, Josh?
All right, I'm gonna go with Breece Hall, and it's just I think there's just too many question marks going into week one. I'm not sure how this committee with Dalvin Cook's going to be. Is it going to be 50-50, 60? Who knows? Not sure the timeshare, is going to play out. Plus, he's coming off ACL. Is he 100%? We don't know for sure. Will they ease him back into it? Will they take it slow with him? Just a lot up in the air. And on top of that, the Bills were really good against the run last year. They were fifth in the league against opposing running backs. I think that you need to be cautious with him this week. You probably drafted him. You drafted him as a starter, so you're probably, he's probably your best option, as a number 2 or 3. And one other problem with that is he's playing on a Monday night. So if for some reason there's a setback with him or something, and it comes up Monday, you're kind of stuck with him in your lineup. So you might want to think about that a little bit.
Completely agree there. And honestly, you go to somebody and ask them, would you feel more comfortable starting Breece Hall or Dalvin Cook week 1? And we've all talked about running backs coming off major knee injuries. Obviously something that's not ideal. And this is his first game back. So I think they brought Dalvin Cook in for a reason. I think Aaron Rodgers asked for Dalvin Cook for a reason. And I think that I personally, the way I see it, I really think it's going to be Dalvin Cook in that Aaron Jones role. And then Breece Hall is going to be kind of sprinkled in. It's not going to be so much of the A.J. Dillon role because he was such a big bruiser. But Dalvin Cook's not exactly a big bruiser either, But he's definitely a good, they're both good pass catchers. But I feel like with Dalvin Cook's experience, him and Aaron Rodgers are going to be on the same page a lot quicker than him and Breece Hall.
Yeah.
I feel like Rodgers is going to throw it down, stay with the Buffalo too.
Yeah. So I completely agree with. I don't know. I like Dalvin Cook. I don't care what they say. I think they're gonna, if anything, they're gonna hedge against using Breece Hall more than Dalvin Cook because, Breece Hall's their franchise running back in the future. I don't think it's Dalvin Cook by any means, and I think they give Dalvin Cook more run and take it easy on Breece Hall until he's a completely 100%. Then you might see more of a timeshare or more of a 60-40 Breece Hall, but I don't know how long that's going to take.
Yeah.
So, but I like that pick a lot. What about you, Clay? Who's your sit running back?
I had 2, but I think I'm going to go with Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
That Eagles defense is going to be really good again this year, I do think, and Jalen Carter's just going to make it even more scary. Or should I say the Bulldogs defense, because they've just got Georgia guys everywhere. Ramondre, we don't know how that role's fully going to work with Zeke there. We do think he's going to be the lead back still, but I do think Zeke becomes kind of more of the goal line back and probably vultures some touchdowns from Ramondre that will piss off some owners this year. I think Ramondre is going to be good. I think he's going to be more towards a running back 3, maybe even lower this week. That Patriots offense, man.
Yeah, I'm
just not high on them overall. And especially against a really good defense like the Eagles week 1. He could be good. He might get a touchdown or 2, but yeah, it's another wait and see approach where I just want to see exactly how many carries he gets. I do think he gets a lot of the passing work, but I want to know what the split is between him and Zeke running the ball. Maybe it's Ramondre gets 15 carries, Zeke gets 7. Maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower. We'll see.
I feel like it's going to be probably more like a 70-30, but like you said, does he get those goal line carries? Because
I think that's the main reason Zeke's there is for the goal line.
The percentages, that's one of the few areas that Ramondre has struggled is on the goal line, and one of the main areas that Zeke has been successful in his career.
Yeah, and we saw Damian Harris be what he had like 12 touchdowns a year or 2 ago.
That's right.
In the same situation where he would go, Ramondre would help them get down the field, Damian Harris would take the touchdown, and they brought Zeke in for a reason. They're going to use him. Apparently looks pretty good in camp, and Bill Belichick for some reason loves him.
Yep.
So, and if Bill Belichick loves you, then you're probably getting the ball somewhere.
Well, I'm not sure
exactly
about
right.
looks good because I've seen some pictures of him. But...
Yeah, he's always going to look heavy, but he's playing well.
Yeah.
He's well, and the coach likes you. That means a lot.
That's right. So,
yes.
yeah, no, I like that. I think, which I mean, there's probably a lot of teams that might not can afford sitting him. Depending on where you drafted him.
Yeah,
but,
that is true. That is true. If you got him as a running back too, which is very possible, then you might be in for a little bit of a rough week, and you're probably gonna have to play him regardless. But
that's right. And he had started falling a little bit more in some leagues. I seen him slipping on down into the late third, early fourth in a couple leagues. But around that Aaron Jones area, and depending on if you drafted two other running backs early or not, you might could afford that. But if he is your RB2, you might be in a situation where you just got to ride it out and see what happens no matter what. But if you can avoid it, I'm like you. I don't disagree with you.
And maybe try to go for one of those guys if you have them, or if you if you're able to snag them later in the draft, like a Jamal Williams or someone like that's going to have those
number one workload.
Yeah, exactly. Early on, while they're not going to be season long kind of guys, but Jamal, you probably drafted as your fourth, maybe fifth running back. Give him start, maybe start 3 receivers instead of 3 running backs this week, and give Ramondre a week to show you what he can do.
Yep, I like that. We'll roll right on into mine. It's going to be Isaiah Pacheco for Detroit. Against Detroit this week for the Chiefs. Man, it's the same thing. I've talked about it before. I worry. We thought we had it figured out a year ago when CEH was going to be the man, and then Pacheco came in, and then now we think we got it figured out with Pacheco. I just got to see them use them like they did last year. That's all, because CEH is coming in healthy. I do worry that if they pass the ball more, they're going to use McKinnon more, especially with Chris Jones missing on that interior of that defense. If their defense is giving up more points, do they focus on throwing the ball more instead of running the ball? I don't know. I feel like, and not only that, with him, he's ranked fairly high this week, but I feel like if you don't have to start him, why not just wait to see who they use the most? Or if it's a timeshare where he gets 10 carries and CEH gets 5 carries, and then McKinnon gets 5 carries, but then he gets 5 catches, just kind of see what kind of usage you get out of him this week against Detroit on Thursday night football, So then there's always the Thursday night football thing where if they're not like your stud starters, you're kind of nervous to play them. But if he's the man, then he's the man. But I just got to see it this year with all of them healthy, and if they play them like they did last year, because we know Clyde Edwards-Helaire was not completely healthy last year, had all sorts of issues going on, and he seems like he's come back healthy this year. And then McKinnon, we've seen what he did whenever Edwards-Helaire was out. He caught all the balls, and then Pacheco ran the ball. So if they do that again and Edwards-Helaire is just a backup, then Pacheco will be the man, especially in run-heavy schemes. But this week against Detroit, strong offense like they have, I don't know if that's going to be a run-heavy scheme game.
Yeah,
personally. So that's why I'm just kind of I'm shying away from Pacheco this week. So, anything I want to add to that, guys?
No, I think it's a solid pick, and another one where it's a wait and see approach for.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, the Chiefs running back room is almost as unpredictable as the Eagles and the Ravens. And it's also the factor of you have Patrick Mahomes, they're probably going to throw the ball a ton. But yeah, I don't mind that pick at all.
All right. Well, what about your wide receiver, Josh? Who you sitting at wide receiver this week?
All right. Well, this pick is purely on quarterback more than it is wide receiver, but I'm going with Brandon Ayuk. I just think Brock Purdy struggles in this game against a really good Steelers defense. I think Watt is, after him the whole ball game. I think this turns into a low-scoring slugfest where both teams run the ball a lot, play hard defense, and Purdy might not have the time to throw it down the field to Ayuk. I mean, he could have a few catches. I just don't expect the wide receivers from San Francisco to have big games. I think it's going to be pound the ball and play defense on both sides.
Yep. And like we kind of alluded to before, I think there's a good chance this is one of those games where it's like, 16-9 or something at the end, something kind of crazy, grinded out, two defensive juggernauts going at it with some, younger quarterbacks. Honestly, if you had me pick between Purdy and Pickett, I'd take Pickett every day right now.
Easily.
Especially right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's been talk out of camp talking about how poor Purdy has looked in the preseason, and Shanahan said he's not going away from him. So he's going to let him stay out there and work it out. So if he goes out there and struggles big
Shanahan
time,
said Purdy's the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if they lose a game or two right off the bat, he'll change.
Oh, can't wait to bring in Sam Darnold.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, who's probably looked the best out of the bunch.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
And that right there says something because we know what Sam Darnold does when he gets in a real game.
That's right. That's right. So, but yeah, no, I like that. I'm not too keen on any of the pass catchers in San Fran right now. I got to see Purdy come out and do it pretty solid. He looked good last year, but teams got a lot of film on him now, and they're going to be able to game plan for his tendencies a lot more than they could last year when nobody had any film on him, because he was their third or fourth option. Was there a fourth quarterback off?
It was Trey Lance, then Jimmy G, then Purdy.
Okay, I thought there was another one after Jimmy G that got hurt or something. But anyway, yeah. So
I think there was another one after Purdy when Purdy got hurt. It was Josh Johnson, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he played for like 6 different teams last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he's played for like 18 in his career.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, no. So I just need to see him do it. Well, the people got film. They've had plenty of time to game plan for him being the starter. That makes a big difference. So, but that's just me. What about you, Clay? Who you got at your wide receiver?
I went Drake London.
Mm-hmm.
The player that during the drafts I had this weekend was just the most weird situation. Like, it felt like he was constantly too high on the ADPs, and he just he kept falling to the point where you're like, well, he's got to be up there for a reason. And he was one of those players you're just like, maybe I draft him just because ESPN knows more than me. I don't know about Drake London. I think they're going to be a mostly run-heavy offense, as Arthur Smith always is. I don't want to play him this week for sure. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 going against J.C. Horn for the Panthers, who is a very good cornerback. It's a wait and see approach, definitely, where I don't want to play him at all because I honestly just don't think he's got the talent. I just don't know if him and Ritter are going to be good enough this year to be that. I mean, I think his ADP was like 59.
Yeah.
For fantasy. That's a 6th-round pick. Like, that's just way too high for me.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully he's on your team as a wide receiver 4, maybe 5. And sit him on the bench, see if he works out. Maybe you found a diamond in the rough, but we'll see.
I think he was that high purely based off he's a wide receiver 1 on his team.
Yeah,
like
probably.
I mean that's why he was that high. I mean,
name another Atlanta wide receiver.
Yeah, well,
Mac Hollins.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Yeah. We've seen him have some blow up games there in Las Vegas last year.
Yeah. He went from Vegas as like a wide receiver 4 to a Atlanta wide receiver 2.
Yeah, so a breakout potential. But I'm right there with you. I like Drake London, the player. I like the talent, but the offensive scheme, the coach, the quarterback play, all suspect at best. And then you got Bijan, who they're going to feed the ball to based off of his athletic ability and dynamic playing, just the way that he can make plays happen. They're going to focus. He's going to be the focal point of that offense, not Drake London.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I kind of feel bad for him because he's so talented and he's just not in a great spot right now. I think you feel a lot better about him, Taylor Heineke starting. I think if you knew Taylor Heineke was coming out there starting, I think you'd probably feel a lot better about playing him than Desmond Ridder. Now, Ridder, he hadn't looked great in the offseason, but he was not a bad passer by any means when he was at Texas Tech. So, I mean, he's got that ability, but he's still got to prove it. He's got to be able to do it at the NFL level.
Well, with a backup like that, you have to think he's got a short leash.
Yeah.
I feel like he does. I really do. I think I don't think they're sold on tanking, and if they start getting beat too bad, I feel like they pull the rope on him, let him go back. The only thing is going to kill his confidence, but let him go back to watching and learning,
Well, no team in the NFC South is going to tank because anybody could win that division.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yep.
But we'll roll on to my wide receiver sit this week, and somebody I've not been high on, haven't understand the move all off season. That's going to be DeAndre Hopkins at New Orleans this week. I don't think it's much of a secret that I'm not much of a Hopkins fan. I don't know why he went to Tennessee. If he was looking to win a Super Bowl and not looking for money, why would you go to Tennessee to be their number one wide receiver in a run-first offense? He's more than likely going to be shadowed by a healthy Marshawn Lattimore. For this matchup, count me out. I think they're going to run the ball. I think Lattimore is going to limit his opportunity. We've seen Ryan Tannehill be serviceable, but a precision passer, I would not say, and I think that's something that it would take to be able to beat Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah.
And honestly, from this going forward, to me, DeAndre Hopkins is purely a matchup-based wide receiver. Like, I don't think he's somebody you put in your lineup and he stays for the whole season or whatnot. I don't think they're going to pass the ball. They might pass the ball enough with Treylon Burks out for him to be there, but when Burks comes back, I don't think that volume's going to be there for both of them to be complete. Like, I think it's going to be split so much. They're going to be flexes at best on, really good matchups. And I think Derrick Henry is going to be running the show. Not to mention the talented tight end that we just talked about was their number 2 pass catcher last year.
Yeah.
Okonkwo, if they're going to get him the ball some too. I feel like if they only throw the ball 25 times, there's not a lot, and he doesn't
That's
complete
exactly what I was about to
of
say
them.
is like Tennessee's ideal game plan is we throw the ball 20 times and it's a short game and we somehow keep it close. Like that's their ideal game. And that's not what you want from DeAndre Hopkins' standpoint.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at ESPN rankings, and it says a lot, I think he's like 26 on the wide receiver list. That's way down there for talent like that. So that tells you a lot.
And I mainly want which, I don't know if he's, whenever I pulled it up, he's not, let's see. Did you just look that up, Josh?
No, I thought I looked it up earlier, but I could be wrong.
Let me pull it, because I thought I looked earlier and I was shocked how high. Let's see, 24 right now. So he's right ahead of Deontay Johnson, Mike Williams, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Terry McLaurin, who's got injured, Drake London. Those are guys he's right ahead of, and he's right behind Christian Watson, Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett. I mean, man, give me Deontay Johnson, even Deontay against San Fran. I'd probably take that.
I think with
DeAndre
Hopkins and Evans and Hopkins, it's about name, because there's no way those
and
two.
That's kind of why I wanted to talk about him, primarily because a lot of people are going to see his name and just automatically remember the good old days, and he's far past those good old days in my opinion. I think he could be successful in a pass-heavy offense. He's still got the ability, not like he once was, but I just don't think this is going to, with his limitations now, as old as he is, and the run-heavy scheme, it's just not conducive for his fantasy value.
Yeah, I can't understand why he went there because I mean that's where wide receivers go to die.
Yep. So and Treylon Burks has been the only successful guy there for a while, and he's out right now. But when he comes back, I think that goes back to that. I really think Treylon Burks is going to be a stud in this league, because of what he was able to do with. Like, if you go back and look at his targets, his catches, and his yardage with the percentage that he played, it was unreal. Like, he was catching 5 for 50 and only playing 50% of the snaps.
Yeah.
Like 5 for 50 with only 50% of the snaps. And I mean, like, if you're getting 5 catches, and it was like 5, he'd be like catching all targets. And if you're getting 5 for 50 on 50% of the snaps, I mean, imagine if they start really scheming more for you and you play all of them, especially on a run first offense.
Well, Hopkins is actually going to help him because he's probably not going to get the number one defender on him.
Yeah. So, anyway, mine's Hopkins. We need to go ahead and keep on rolling, and we need to roll on into tight ends. Josh, go ahead and give us your tight end sit for this week.
I got George Kittle. I mean, first of all, there's a chance he might miss the game. I mean, so number one, and as we've talked about a lot on this podcast, we don't really think he's going to have a great year. There's too many mouths to feed. Yep. And they're playing against the Steelers team that they're probably going to have to leave him in there to block a lot more.
Yep.
So I just don't like him this week. I really don't like him for the year.
Yeah, I love that pick. Can't stay healthy. Question marks at quarterback. Add too many mouths. I mean, you got Debo, CMC, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, those are all guys, especially Ayuk. I mean, especially Debo and CMC. I feel like if Shanahan's wanting to get the ball into his playmakers' hands, those are going to be the 1 and 2 guys, and then you want to rely on Brock Purdy to get the ball to George Kittle, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of out on that. I know he had some good games with him last year, but I love what you said too, that he's going to have to stay in and help defend against that pass rush of Pittsburgh, because it's good. It ain't no joke. And who was it? Somebody made a bet with TJ Watt. Well, who was it? It was some big star. If he breaks the single season sack record, they're donating, I think it was $1 million or $2. Was it $1 million or $2 million to his charity of choice? If he breaks it, I think it was 1 or 2 million. Yeah. I'll have to Google that and come back with y'all. But yeah, I remember they were talking about it on ESPN. If he breaks the single season sack record, they're going to donate that money to TJ Watt's charity of choice.
Huh. That's interesting.
Well, he can do it.
Yeah,
no
definitely.
Doubt. Anyway, so what about you, Clay? Who's your tight end bust this week?
I had Dallas Goedert. Nothing really crazy there. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I think he's going to be middle of the pack, like he will be most of the year. I think it's just more so that I think that some of those sleepers might have a little bit bigger of a week. Some of those Kincaids, Laportas, some other guys we'll talk about in our sleeper segment a little bit later. And as I've mentioned, Bill Belichick, you're giving him 9 months to prepare against a team that just made it to the Super Bowl. He probably wants to try to make a statement week 1, and I'm not going to doubt Bill Belichick. So
can't argue with you there. I mean, like I said, I think Goddard is a safe floor.
Yeah.
Could he come out and have a bust against New England? Of course.
Yeah, and I mean his bust might be 3 catches for 40 yards. Like, that you're probably going to take that more times than not. But I don't know.
I can't argue with that there. And I did find it. I was off by about $500,000. But Pat McAfee makes the promise to donate $500,000 if TJ Watt breaks the record. Still $500,000, man. But yeah, I swore they said it was like $1 million, because I was like $1 million. I was like, sweet mother. But yeah, still $500,000, man. That's crazy. For breaking the sack record. That's anyway. So he's got a little bit of motivation there if he's trying to get some money to his charity of choice. Anyway, anything else you want to add to old Dallas Goedert there? I know we've already talked him up a pretty good bit there, Josh. So
No, I think we've talked plenty about him.
My sit tight end is going to be Greg Dulcich. Honestly, I'm just trying to figure out why he's ranked so high after Sean Payton came out and verbally said that Adam Troutman's going to be the starting tight end, and Dulcich until Dulcich learns how to block. That was probably about 2 weeks ago when they came out with that, and but then Dulcich is sitting here rated 16th, 15th. I mean, like, some people might have drafted him with the intentions to start him.
Yeah, maybe he's learned how to block.
I thought he could be a breakout at the beginning of the year until Peyton came out and said that. But, I mean, looking at the guys around him, I like a lot better. Sam Laporta, give me Gerald Everett, Jawan Johnson, Tyler Conklin. You know, a lot of those guys, and those are all guys right around him. I'm out on Greg Dulcich. That's why I wanted to put him as my sit, just because if you're looking at guys in that area, trying to decide who you want to play, maybe you're playing the tight end streaming game, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe you're looking for somebody because you got Travis Kelce or you got, you know, George Kittle or one of those guys that you're worried about not playing in week 1 and you're trying to figure out who to pick up. Don't pick up Dulcich. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, you know, we were big on him, you know, like on one of our first podcasts, and then the next week we heard that, and we're like, man, did we not make a bad call there?
Well, and something else though, you know, a lot of Sean Payton brought Troutman in, and Sean Payton drafted Troutman when he was in New Orleans, so obviously Sean Payton likes Adam Troutman a lot, and that's one of those things, like we just said, if your coach likes you. I mean, that's got to mean something. So, and we all know Sean Payton doesn't give a flying flip about what anybody else thinks about his players other than him. Because, I mean, we've seen him bring in no-named, undrafted guys numerous times in New Orleans and turn them into stars. So, anyway, count me out on Greg Dulcich this week against Las Vegas. So, let's jump right on into our last segment and roll through it real quick and then wrap it up, guys. But let's get your quarterback sleeper for this week, Josh.
All right, I'm going with Sam Howell. They really like him. Been talking him up in Washington. He's been really good in camp so far. The offense should be a lot better. He has the weapons, and something that some people might not remember, at North Carolina, he was a really good running quarterback. I mean, I want to say his senior year, he ran for like over 800 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good at running and moving in the pocket. And also, they're playing who we think might be the worst team in the league in Arizona the first game. So, you know, with all that, I think Arizona is pretty much an auto fade this year, unless I see something different. So, you know, hey, if you know, pretty deep sleeper, but I think Sam Howell has a pretty decent game.
I like the pick a lot.
Yeah, I think anybody that plays Arizona, we're probably going to be picking on them a lot throughout the year. With our sleepers and stuff like that, even if they're on bad teams, but just because we think that they're going to be able to beat Arizona or perform well. And one more thing to add there. You've got the Eric Bieniemy show up there with Washington.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you bring in a very, I guess, controversial OC. And some people don't really think that he was calling the shots in Kansas City, which I don't think he was. But he obviously has a lot. He had impact in that Kansas City room, which has been no doubt the best offense for the past 3 or 4 years. And
that's right.
Now he gets that chance to really showcase his abilities and try to get that head coaching job. So he's on a mission this year, and that's a good thing you want from your OC.
Well, and he's also, you know, Sam Howell's got 2 great running backs behind him, and I say great, you know, solid running backs, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
Actually a fairly underrated offensive line. A lot of people don't realize that they're going to be probably in the top 10 or 12 in their offensive line this year. Who I think Ron Rivera has made that a point of impact, which is, you know, one of the main things a lot of places should do. and I'm sure they do, but they've really improved it a lot. And then Jahan Dotson is just waiting to break out, making plays left and right. And then McLaurin being down, I mean, that hurts him a little bit. But I mean, Antonio Gibson is just good as a wide receiver coming out the backfield. I mean, he played wide receiver in college.
Literally, yeah. And you still got De'Ami Brown and Curtis Samuel.
That's right. Yeah,
Logan
Curtis
Thomas.
Samuel, who doesn't even, was literally a gadget player and helped Ohio State, tremendously. They got to the national championship with him in the backfield and at the wideout. So, he really hasn't had a good, clean break. And maybe this is his chance to step up with Terry McLaurin being beat up a little bit.
Yeah,
and
he's been having to be a wide receiver too. Now he's going to be more of a 3 or a 4, which is probably better for a type of player like him.
So I like that pick for Sam Howell a lot this week against Arizona, the dumpster fire it is right now. So what about you, Clay?
I was thinking Howell as well. I didn't want to double up though, so I'll lean with my boy Baker. As we've talked about, Minnesota defense, not great. I think their secondary cornerbacks are going to be probably Andrew Booth Jr. maybe, who's like a second-year guy to Clemson. Mekhi Blackman maybe, who's a rookie from USC. Byron Murphy, who was bad enough to be released from Arizona. So
that's pretty bad.
That's terrible.
So and then the safeties, Harrison Smith's still there, but he's like 35
at least.
Yeah, and just not a really good defense. You got Marcus Davenport coming off the edge on a mission from LSU. From the Saints. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes for them. I don't expect much, and I think the Bucs offense can be better than people expect, especially early on. Rashad White, very good receiving back. Chris Godwin obviously has a lot of talent. Mike Evans is very it's a weird position for him this year, but as we all know, he usually gets 1,000 yards. That probably stops this year, but I would be shocked if he's not close, honestly, just because he's so talented. I mean, I think it's a good situation for them. Obviously, I don't think anyone's going to start Baker. I love him a lot, and I'm probably not. So, but it'll be interesting to see how this team, how the Bucs perform against a pretty bad Vikings defense.
And I'd like to see if they utilize his legs a little bit more. People forget he could run a fair amount whenever he came out. And
he's a very good play action guy too.
He hasn't really ran that much, and I mean, it's turning into one of those leagues where if your guy can't, either they got to really be really, really good at passing the ball, or they got to be able to run a little bit. And I'm just curious to see if they kind of break that out again in him this year or not. But I think he could have a really good game against Minnesota's terrible defense this week for sure. And then go ahead and roll on into mine. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers at home against Buffalo. Honestly, I don't think Buffalo's defense is going to be as good as people think. For one, they traded Trey Edmonds away to Chicago in the offseason. He was one of those hybrid safety linebacker type players, kind of like Mike, not quite as big as Micah Parsons, but just one of those guys that could cover those big tight ends, made a lot of tackles, averaged well over 100 tackles both seasons he was there. And they traded him away, didn't really replace him. Von Miller goes on the IR before the season starts, so he's missing the first 4 games. And then when you remove both of those players, I just think those are 2 holes that they did not address and have not been replaced in that defense. The secondary is healthy for now. You still got their 2 safeties. That's what we were talking about a little bit about. Clay pointed out their 2 safeties are back, Poyer and it's Bush, right? Isn't that right?
Michael
Bush. Oh, Hyde. Sorry. Poyer and Hyde, and then you got Tre'Davious White out there locking down on the corner. But it's Aaron Rodgers, and he's playing first game for the Jets. Everybody's been talking about he's the oldest player in the league. He's got that bulletin board material up somewhere, talking about I mean, he is the oldest player in the league, but he's still freaking Aaron Rodgers.
That's crazy. That's
and I don't
crazy
know.
To think about that.
And he's happy and rejuvenated.
Dude.
Having fun.
I feel like he's going to have a big game, too.
I feel like
I don't know how he's
chip on
ranked.
his shoulder.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, well, the last time we seen him ranked this low, he won the MVP.
Yeah, I can't believe he's that low.
Like, he is, like, I don't know. I mean,
that game's just going to be must-see TV, just all around.
Yeah,
it's going to be so good.
I cannot wait. I probably won't move. If I won't move that whole time. But yeah,
I believe the only
18.
thing that might that's too low for
18.
him. The only thing that might slow him down that I'm kind of worried about is the Jets. I don't know about their offensive line.
Yeah.
That's kind of suspect.
I know Mekhi Becton's going to have to start, and I don't think they're very happy about that.
Yeah.
It is kind of wishy-washy, but I'm sure he'll make it work somehow.
I was about to say, but play action pass, they're going to run the ball, they're going to run screens like nobody's business. The quick, slants to Garrett Wilson. I don't know. I think they figured
Garrett Wilson, number one running back in the league this week.
Yeah, but no, I think Rodgers gets it done. I think he's a top 10 quarterback this week against the Bills, and I think they got a good chance to beat them at home. I really do. I think they're going to come out and try to put on a show, and then their defense has gotten better. I mean, they were young last year.
Has.
But they've added some pieces in the offseason. Robert Saleh, I mean, was
their other cornerback that's not Sauce came out and said we're going to have a defense that's as good as the 85 Bears. So,
he needs to
check.
He needs to check himself a little bit before that. But I think those days are done because you can't play like that anymore. But that's just me. But I think they're going to be better. And like we alluded to earlier about DeMeco Ryans coming from 49ers, we forget who the defensive coordinator was before DeMeco Ryans when the 49ers were still great. Robert Saleh. Hello.
Absolutely.
So if anybody can get that defense in line, and then, when you got Rodgers controlling the ball and giving them a little bit more time off, I think that's going to give them a little bit more time to catch their breath against the Buffalo Bills offense. So they might not stop them, but they might slow them down enough to give Rodgers a chance to win the game. So I like Rodgers a lot, as y'all can tell, and we'll see. He might be the Russell Wilson of this year. Who knows? But we'll just have to see. But I'd rather bet on somebody that has been an MVP a couple times
multiple
in his
times.
career. Yeah. So let's go on and roll on into running back. Who you got at your running back sleeper there, Josh?
All right. And I had told y'all this before we started. This is probably my favorite pick of all of this. Raheem Mostert. For the Dolphins, I just think he's healthy right now. When he's healthy, he is good. Yep. He's one of the best big play running backs in the league. Okay, so Jeff Wilson Jr. is on IR. A-Chain has an injured shoulder.
Yep.
Ahmad, neck injury. That leaves Mostert and an undrafted free agent, Chris Brooks.
Yep.
Do you not think he's going to get a lot of work?
Yep.
And this is that game we've been talking about this whole podcast, the Chargers versus Dolphins, going to be lots of points.
Yep.
The Chargers allowed 145 yards per game on the ground last year.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. That was one of the worst.
And Tua ain't running it. So.
No.
I think he has a big game, and I think the passing's going to open it up for him, some big holes that he's going to take advantage of. I really like him, as y'all can tell this week.
And he can catch the ball too. And that's what I mean, he can catch the ball out of the backfield too. He caught it. He had several good pass catching games when he was in the 49ers, and he had to showcase that because they've had Myles Gaskin there in Miami, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield too.
And he's never been like somebody that played most of the snaps in the game, but I feel like he's going to have one of the biggest snap counts he's probably ever had in this game.
In this one, definitely. I agree. So, what about you? What about you, Clay? Who you got at running back?
I've got Isaiah Pacheco. We talked about him a little bit earlier. It's really a wait and see approach, but I think just given the situation now with Kelsey, the uncertainty around every receiver on the roster, essentially, you got guys that you think could, but we just haven't seen it yet. Pacheco, I think, really came along as the clear-cut running back number one. While McKinnon obviously gets a lot of work as a passing back out the backfield. I like the Pacheco pick. I drafted him in 2 of my 3 leagues. He was just so undervalued, I felt, overall. It was to the point where I have him as a running back 4 in a league because he was just that low, and I could draft him in that situation. And this week, ESPN has him as running back. Let me see what number. 28. So right under Brian Robinson Jr., Javonte Williams, James Cook, Cam Akers.
Right ahead of Raheem Mostert, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Quite interesting there.
Yeah. And right above Dalvin Cook, Samaje Perine. While most of these guys I just mentioned are in backfields where it's more than likely going to be 2 people getting running work, I think Pacheco is almost certainly going to get most of the running work. Maybe Clyde gets a couple touches. I don't think McKinnon's really going to get many carries. Obviously, he'll get a couple catches out the backfield, but I think just Pacheco is a value pick. He can be a very solid running back 3, maybe even a running back 2 this week, just given the situation and given what your team looks like.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, if he ends up being the guy, solid pickup. It just makes me nervous if he is the guy, and that's why I'm on that wait and see approach. But
yeah,
I can completely understand where you think he could be the guy, and if he is, it's going to be an excellent value pickup right there and a play.
Yeah.
So, going right on into mine, Samaje Perine for Denver, who we just kind of talked about was ranked lower, but what we've already heard from Denver offensive coordinator Lombardi is Javonte Williams will have a lighter workload to start the season. Now, I don't know about you guys, but whenever the offensive coordinator says we're going to give him a lighter workload, I'm thinking the other guy's probably going to get a heavier workload. So why would you not want to lean more on that guy, and that's Samaje Perine?
Yeah.
I don't know why he's ranked so low when we've seen him get a heavy workload in the NFL. Now, granted, it was for Cincinnati. The dude was the RB2 2 weeks in a row when Joe Mixon was out. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting that, but if he can have somewhat similar to that production, I mean, even, RB 10 to 15 production, and he's ranked at freaking 30 right now, I think. He's RB 29.8 right now. So, and they're playing against Las Vegas. Not exactly setting the world on fire with their defense right now either. So, man, there's just so many things. It just seems like that they could be successful. He's got the opportunity. Sean Payton's his head coach, offensive genius. I think they're going to and that's something else about Sean Payton. He knows how to utilize his players to maximize their potential. We've seen it. We've seen it for years in New Orleans. There's no reason to expect it to be any different in Denver. And I think that Perine is going to be used for whatever he's best at. But the thing is, though, when he was in Cincinnati, we seen him catch the ball well and run the ball well. So I don't know how he's going to use him, but I got a feeling that Sean Payton's going to be able to get the best out of him regardless. And if Javonte Williams is on a snap count for a lighter load, then I think we're going to see a lot of Samaje Perine for at least the first quarter of the season for sure.
Well, when Mixon was out last year, he looked like an RB1.
Yeah, he was an RB1.
Really good.
He was the RB2 overall for 2 weeks in a row.
So question for you, Derek. How many of your teams did you get him on?
I have him on all my teams. And
I knew that was going to be the answer.
That includes my dynasty league that I drafted him last year because I have Mixon and Perine in that league. And I didn't drop Perine. I just kept him. So I still have Mixon and Perine.
I would have won a lot of money on that bet.
Yeah, so dude, I mean, he just is down there, and like I go light on running back, and I take him. And not only that, but we've also talked about running backs coming off major knee injuries and chance of reoccurrence and soft tissue injuries. And I mean, I don't want to be like that with Javonte Williams because I like him a lot as a player, and I think he's a very talented running back. But it happens more often than not that they end up having some kind of soft tissue injury, or they just have to be eased in a lot. It just takes a lot longer for them to come back and explode and cut like they need to, and they're not the same player at least for another half year, you know. So maybe that's what they're going to do. They're going to lean heavy on P. Ryan, mix in Javonte Williams some, and then whenever he's 100%, let him take back over. Who knows? Or maybe it's like we've talked about before on this pod. Maybe it's an Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram situation where they lean on, you know, it becomes more of a timeshare, but they're both valuable. Who knows? But at least while it's a lighter workload for Javonte and a heavier workload for Samaje, I'm gonna roll my dice with Samaje P. Ryan and probably play him at the flex in several of those leagues.
All right.
So let's roll on into our wide receivers. Josh, who do you got?
All right, I got this guy we've already talked about a little bit, Jahan Dotson. Second-year wide receiver, had a really good year last year. Really athletic with a big upside. Terry McLaurin's banged up with, I think, turf toe maybe.
It's not turf toe, but it is a toe injury. They ruled out turf toe, quote unquote, but it's a toe injury. Well, that's why he didn't go on IR, because if it was a turf toe injury, he would have went on IR, because that's at least a 4 to 6 week injury minimum.
The problem, though, with these wide receivers is toe injuries is hard to get over.
That's
you
exactly
use that
right.
to push so much and go side to side. So, you know, with him being hurt, and there's a chance I think he still could play. But even if he plays, I like Dotson. I like them both, you know, if they play. I think Dotson could possibly outplay McLaurin this year. I'm big on Dotson. I think he's going to have a big year.
Yeah.
And on top of all that, guess who they playing?
Yep.
The Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
Let's fade them. Let's fade them.
Jahan Dotson's a big play waiting to happen, man. He really is. And I mean, what scores more fantasy points than big plays? And so I love that pick a lot. You know, he's slid in a lot of drafts, and I still don't know why. He, for such a small player, he commands he just finds ways to get open in the red zone.
Yeah,
and makes plays. It's really.
And I think
crazy.
I think he has one of his best weeks of the year. First game.
Yeah,
he got drafted over McLaurin in a couple of leagues I was in as well.
Really, he did not get drafted over McLaurin in any of my leagues, and I was watching him. He was on my target list for going kind of one of those guys to pick up as like my wide receiver 4, because he was going that late in several of my leagues, and it just didn't happen where I was able to get him, but I was trying to, and I'll be honest, I'll be trying to trade for him too. If he has a really good week and somebody wants to get out, and I got somebody that has a good week, and I think they might not be as good as they are, I'll trade for him, because I think he's somebody you could trade high for. Now I'm not selling like a stud for him or nothing, but I definitely think he's somebody you could trade high for, and you won't regret it later on in the season. So. What about you, Clay? Who you got at your sleeper wide receiver?
I went Jacoby Myers. It's someone that I talked about a little bit past couple weeks. I think that Raiders offense is going to be a little bit better than it's getting rated as. I mean, I don't think many people honestly think they're going to be a top 20 offense. I think they'll be in that. I think they're going to be okay. Obviously, you have Devontae Adams. Jimmy G is going to be the quarterback. You have a little bit of a question mark there. But with Devontae Adams, he usually takes pretty much all the targets. But this week, they're going against Denver, who has Patrick Surtain II, who is one of the best corners in the NFL, easily top 5 in my opinion. He'll get the Devontae Adams assignment, no doubt. Who's taking on Jacoby Myers on the other side? Who knows? Maybe K'Wan Williams, who's more of a slot man. Fabian Moreau, who's just a journeyman, the
Yep.
rookie Riley Moss. Like, they don't really have that solidified number two.
Yep.
So I think Jacoby Myers is going to get a good bit of work. And he's also coming in on a 3-year, $33 million deal. So they're obviously paying him to come in and be a legit option. Yeah, I think it's a solid matchup that he could really feast on with Devontae.
Yeah.
Devontae will never get locked up, but Devontae will probably have a lesser than Devontae game.
I agree. I like that pick a lot. Yep.
All right.
So, anything else you want to add about that, Josh?
No, I mean, we know that they're going to be on a team that's going to be behind in a lot of games, so they're going to have to throw the ball, especially third and fourth quarter. So, hey, somebody's got to get the ball.
Yeah,
that's right. So, I'm going to roll right on into mine, and it's a guy that I've talked about several times, and we talked a little bit about earlier, and that's going to be Sky Moore for Kansas City against Detroit. This actually, I was right in this column. Whenever the news broke that Kelsey had hyperextended his knee, it was going to be questionable for the Thursday night game, I immediately thought of who would be better to work the middle of the field in this offense other than somebody comfortable working in the slot, already been named to work in all two wide receiver sets for this team, than Sky Moore. I think Tony could be this guy or could be this factor later in the season as he's completely healthy, but coming off that knee surgery, like I think just 3 weeks ago, if that, for that meniscus repair. I don't think he's 100% there yet. I think he will play. And like Josh and I talked about, Josh, big Tony fan. And I do think that Tony will have a role in this game. I just don't know if it's going to be as big of a role as Sky Moore will against Detroit, where I think they're going to have to throw the ball to keep up. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball a ton. Another reason that I was kind of out on Pacheco, I think they're just going to put it in Mahomes' hands and let him distribute it as needed. And I think Sky Moore is going to be one of those guys that's going to get the ball and make plays in the middle of the field if Kelsey's out. So I like Sky Moore a lot this week against Detroit.
Yeah,
I think he probably gets more volume than Tony for sure. I feel like for some reason I just feel like Tony's going to get a touchdown somehow. They're going to find a way, but he might not have but 3 or 4 catches, but I just feel like Tony in the red zone is going to find pay dirt.
Yeah. I can't deny that. Heck, there could be about 4 or 5 touchdowns in this game, honestly.
Yeah.
So Tony could get one, you get one, Moore gets one, just like Oprah. She's just giving them out left and right. So who knows? But
they're going to be without about 100 yards and a touchdown or 2.
Yeah,
sitting on the bench over there. So somebody's
and
got to
that's
get
not
it.
to mention Juju's vacated catches and yards from last year that
and
they still got to account for.
Yeah.
So we still got to see who replaces that volume. So we'll see where that goes. But that's why I like Sky Moore a lot. I think he's got to be one of those guys that steps up and gets in. And then not to mention the whole second-year wide receiver thing. Like, I mean, that just seems like when wide receivers tend to break out, it's their second year. And, a lot of people thought it was going to be last year for them. And a lot of these wide receivers that have broken out within the last several years, they think they're going to break out the rookie. Now, last year was an exception because we had several rookies that really broke out last year. But before that, I mean, it was always seemed like it was their second year these guys started breaking out. So, and it's Sky Moore's second year. So,
didn't he end it on a big note and get a touchdown in the Super Bowl, if I ain't mistaken?
I think he did.
I think he did because I remember Mahomes grabbing the ball and run over and saying, you better keep this or something.
Yeah.
I believe that was Moore.
So, yeah, well, and I think I do remember that because then I was thinking, I was like, man, everybody was predicting him to do that, and then he's gonna wait till the last game possible.
Yeah. He had one catch for 4 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. So
the only touchdown he scored all year.
Yep. No, he did not have a good year last year. Like
first career
people
touchdown.
He was gonna, in the Super Bowl. What a heck of a game right there.
That's awesome.
But anyway, we'll see if he can do it this year. So anyway, What about let's go on to tight ends, Josh.
Yeah, our favorite segment. Here we go.
I know. Yeah.
All right. Well, my sleeper is going to be Irv Smith Jr.
Yep.
Everybody knows health has been the issue for him the last couple of years. And guess what? Week 1, he is healthy. He's just another option for Burrow. He's in a great situation. Burrow helped Hurst, out to have a career year last year. And I think this guy's way more talented than Hurst. I feel like he's going to be a big time red zone target. So I would not doubt if he didn't end up with a touchdown this week. Burrow show him the ropes and give him a touchdown to start the year out.
Yeah, I think that's a great comp too. Like what he did with Hurst last year, and Irv Smith is such a more dynamic athlete than Hayden Hurst is.
Yeah,
and like you said, he's healthy now, so I like that pick a lot. What about you, Clay?
I went Noah Fant, who we talked about a little bit earlier. The Seattle offense against a pretty bad Rams defense.
Yep.
Noah Fant's he's a freak. He's an athletic freak. Coming from tight end U in Iowa. Geno's got plenty of weapons. The Rams aren't going to be able to hold them all. Maybe Fant sneaks in with a touchdown. I think Fant can be a pretty sneaky play the whole year, honestly. I don't think he's going to be very valuable in terms of your fantasy waiver wire or anything like that. You can probably pick him up in most leagues anytime you want him. But I think he can be one of those guys that sneakily gets a four catch, 40-yard, and maybe he gets a touchdown.
Well, he's really underrated for run after the catch too. A lot of people don't realize he's extremely athletic, and I remember seeing him break a couple plays last year, and he caught the ball and took off, and I was like, man, that dude, like Travis Kelce-esque athleticism, just not in the same situation, but I mean, very similar to a Travis Kelce type player. So I'm right there with you, man. I keep waiting on him to kind of break out and take that next step. It hadn't happened, and I don't know if Seattle's the place for it, but it could definitely happen for sure because he's got the talent to be able to do it. And I think that's a great pick because, I mean, he's just, like you said, he's just floating around out there on the waiver, and he's an excellent streaming option every week personally because he could always have that, 6 catch for 80 and a touchdown,
and with the injuries that Seattle receivers and running backs always end up having,
that's right.
Lockett's going to miss a game or two. Smith and Jigba are already showing that he's getting hurt. But then I think he's an option, definitely to pick up the slack at some point during the year.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot.
Then you got to think, people looking for a replacement for Kelce, he will probably be on the waiver wire if you got to have somebody.
Yeah. That's for sure.
He's tight end 21 this week on ESPN, so definitely available.
Oh yeah. And then that last but certainly not least, I'm gonna stick with the New York Jets against the Buffalo matchup this week. I'm gonna go with Tyler Conklin for the Jets against Buffalo. Honestly, the matchup there's been several things that really caught my eye with this. For one, the Tremaine Edmonds thing, letting Tremaine Edmonds go, that was their tight end killer, their main coverage guy, because he was that tall, lanky, athletic linebacker that was kind of a hybrid safety that could cover these tight ends that were very athletic, and they let him go. And then not only that, you got Aaron Jones in New York, very, very capable passer, of course, and we've seen him use help me out, guys. That tight end he threw to made
Robert
real
Tonyan.
Popular. Yes, Robert Tonyan. Come out of nowhere, made him popular. All right, and Tyler Conklin's way more athletic than Tonyan ever was. And then not only that, but the decimation of the wide receiver room for the New York Jets. I mean, left and right, it seems like they're dropping now. I think Lazard's going to go. I'm not 100% sure. Randall Cobb, he just got his AARP card in, but he should still be good to go.
Yeah.
And then McCole Hardman had that finger injury, but I mean, there's a bunch of questions. And then you got, and then Corey Davis retired, he was like, I'm out. I don't know what was all about, because he'd had his chance again. But maybe Aaron Rodgers just didn't like him, and he was like, "You may as well retire, man."
Well, he had signed a big contract, and I mean,
yeah,
he give up a lot of money right there.
I know, I'd really like to know what happened there, because I mean, he had a chance, because with McCole Hardman hurting his finger, and then Lazard being kind of banged up, and then you got Cobb. I mean, Corey Davis is better than Randall Cobb. I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers likes Cobb and all, but Corey Davis still had some years left to burn.
Yeah,
man, send him to New Orleans. We'll take it. We'll figure something out to do with him down there. You know, Michael Thomas will get hurt week 1, so
I don't know. Maybe he's just done with football or something.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe.
I don't know.
Heck, maybe he's a business owner and he's making more money with his own business than he is in football. Who knows? But either way, all that to be said, I like Tyler Conklin versus Buffalo. Not to mention last year, I don't know if y'all remember, but Tyler Conklin was a very serviceable tight end with Mike White and Zach. Well, it wasn't Zach Wilson. It was mainly Mike White under center and Joe Flacco. But Tyler Conklin was very serviceable at a tight end.
Yeah.
And I think in this game that the Jets are going to be throwing the ball. I don't think it's like a crazy shootout, but I do think it's probably one of them higher 20 scoring games. And then there's a good chance that Tyler Conklin has a pretty good game, especially if you're looking for a Travis Kelce replacement. Not to mention you get to watch him on Monday night. So
absolutely,
I always love whenever I got players on Monday night, because it's the only game on. I'm always at home to watch it, it seems like, and
sometimes it decides the game too.
And then you always feel like you have a chance, you know.
Yeah.
Because you never know when that guy's gonna have 10 catches for 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. So, but that's my guy at tight end. And then like I said earlier, we're gonna just throw a couple defenses out real quick that we really like. I think each one of us had a defense, and I like Jacksonville at Indianapolis this week. Young emerging defense, hungry to prove that they're more than just Trevor Lawrence's offense team, you know. So I like them, and they're going against a rookie quarterback led by a rebuilding franchise with a terrible running back room. So I like Jacksonville and Indianapolis a lot. What about y'all guys? Who do you like?
I like the Ravens defense.
Yep.
Playing against CJ Stroud. I like Stroud a lot, and I think he's going to be pretty NFL ready. But your first NFL game in Baltimore against a Baltimore defense that seems to be kind of flying under the radar. I think that's going to be a tough matchup for them. And I'm playing the Ravens in 2 leagues. So hopefully that works out.
That. Yep. What about you, Josh?
I'm going to go with Washington. I think they're kind of an underrated defense, going to be a lot better than people think. And they're also playing who?
The
Cardinals. Fade Arizona.
Absolutely. Yeah, honestly, you could probably stream against Arizona for the rest of the year and do pretty well, because, Lord, I don't even know if they know right now who's going to start this weekend at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not 100% sure.
They came out with their depth chart today, and it was Josh Dobbs or Clayton Tune. So
Josh Dobbs just joined the team like yesterday.
Yeah. So, he's not been there a week. I know.
Yeah,
they wouldn't even let him talk to the media.
Yeah, because they were worried they were going to ask him if he knew what the playbook looked like, and he'd have to say no if he didn't want to lie. Man, that's just crazy to me. But I mean, I do kind of, Dobbs had showed some promise a little bit there when he was in Pittsburgh before they drafted Pickett. I hate it for him because he's going to get thrown to the wolves probably and get smoked. But I think he's their best option. I think he runs the ball more. Honestly, might be a little sneaky pick for daily fantasy if you go really cheap, and if he runs the ball, maybe gets a couple rushing touchdowns or something like that. But I definitely don't think they're putting up big points, on a defense. So I like that against Washington. It's a Ron Rivera led defense,
Yeah.
And it seems like an ever improving offense. So I like that pick a lot there, Josh. So anything else y'all want to add or talk about, guys?
No, I think I'm good.
I think we've said it all.
I was about to say, I feel like we've covered just about everything there is to talk about coming up in this league. I mean, in this this first week. We really appreciate everybody listening, guys. Thank you. Please like, subscribe, download, give us your feedback on the podcast. Just, anything you want to hear more of, anything you don't want to hear more of, we love to hear it. We appreciate everything. And we'll be coming back at you and letting y'all, know we're going to, if there's any breaking news, we'll try to get a micropod in to give y'all some updates here and there. But otherwise, we'll be coming back at y'all for week 1's waiver picks early next week. And good luck. Hopefully, everything we've given y'all will lead y'all into a good week 1. Good luck to everybody. And keep chasing that trophy.